Good morning. I'm down on the end of the nature trail today. I think I've overdone it the last couple of weeks, moving the big heavy branches. So the idea is I'm going to be having an easier week this week. I'm sure it won't stay that way. But yeah, so I'm starting down here. As you can see, there's a lot of dropwort. All these white flowers everywhere. You can see a dropwort, and there's just a bit too much of it. So there is a pond underneath there. You just can't see it. So yeah, I'm going to spend a bit of time just taking these out and opening it up so you can see what's there. Right, let's get on. Now, I never truly appreciated how big these can get. They are perennials. But I mean, the size of that is a small tree, and it is rock solid. So it's quite impressive how quickly that's grown to that size, because that's a year. Well, less than a year, 6 months. But yeah, obviously you do have to be careful with these because they are poisonous, but I'm not planning on eating it, so... Right, let's carry on. Okay, well I've moved around a little bit further, and there's two plants in here that I want to mention. So the first one is this one here. I'm not actually sure what it is, but it's just recently finished flowering, and it had a very similar flower to the dropwort. In fact, it's so close, I could be getting them wrong and misidentifying the other one. But I much prefer this plant because it doesn't swamp out everything from around it. The other one that I've been pulling out just tends to flop over everything and just crush everything that's around it, and you end up with a dead space when you're taking it out. This, you can see, it's grown, it's flowered, and it's now dying back. And there's still plants at the base, so that is lovely. So I'm going to try and spread the seeds of this. The other plant I've got in here is this one here, and there's a few of them. I think there's about 4 dotted in here. That one has a very similar flower to the dropwort as well, but that one's hogweed, so you have to be very careful with that one because it has an acidic sap. Now, I should really be going and getting my gloves before handling this, but like I say, it's the sap that's the problem. So my plan is I'm going to use the saw to cut it at the base, and I'm going to hold it at the top, so therefore I shouldn't get the sap on me. I'm just going to cut that down and get rid of that. Come to inspect the work. Okay, so now the bit I'm not looking forward to, getting in the pond to remove a couple of reeds. So there appears to be 2 clumps of reeds in here. There's a few reeds around there, which from here look like sweet scented rush. I'll be able to tell when I get a bit closer, because when you break the leaf, it smells sweet. So I'm happy leaving those reeds. But here you have a lot of the flag iris, yellow flag iris. So all the stuff that's on the bank has flowered. All the stuff that's in the water doesn't appear to be flowering. Because the clump is just getting so large, the plan is to just thin it out. So I'm going to get down and remove some of the stuff on the water side, make the water surface area larger, allow more wildlife to get into it. Problem is, I know this pond is stupidly deep in the middle. You can see how steep the bank is on the far side. Well, it carries on down like that. This is just a crater. So I've only got wellies on. I'm hoping I don't go so deep that I go over the top of them. So yeah, let's give it a go. Right, success. And what I've just seen, there's a couple of them in here. There's a lot of life in here, you don't realise. That is a dragonfly larva. So that will turn into a dragonfly. It's all gone into hiding now. There's another dragonfly larvae there. You do have to be careful, dragonfly larvae, because they do bite. Let's see what else I can find. Okay, so I've only managed to find 2 dragonfly larvae, and this little guy here, so that's a water diving beetle. So he's only small. Yeah, can't see anything else in here. Oh, I dropped him. Okay, so I'm just going to leave these at the side of the path here for a little while, because that means that the wildlife that's in it can escape, like this guy, and they can find their way back to the pond. Even if they don't go back to this pond, there's various other ponds around. So I didn't want to waste the yellow flag iris, so I'm now at the opposite end of the bottom lake. I'm down on the river, so this is the furthest corner you can get to. But as you can see, we've got the river that comes through, and it's meandering nicely. It hits this tree and it goes off this way, and it's washing away the bank on that side. And as you can see, it's getting wider here, which is great, because a wider river is a slower river. It doesn't do as much damage, it deposits silt rather than scouring it away. But there's a fence there, and that stops, when the neighbour puts sheep in the field over there, stops them from escaping. So I don't want it to wash away underneath the fence. So the plan is, if I just drop these yellow flag iris in just behind that fence line, then they should hold on to the soil that's there, because there's a second fence line, so it's the second one that I'm really protecting. But that should hold on to that soil there, and should it start to wash away in the winter, because of the fence, the yellow flag iris should get stuck. They shouldn't get washed down the river. So yeah, that's the plan. So yeah, obviously they're really well planted. But no, from my experience, yellow flag iris are incredibly resilient. And I am pretty sure they'll just put their roots down into the soil that's around them and pick up the moisture that's around them. As long as it doesn't get stupidly hot for the next couple of months and everything dries out and the river stops flowing, then I think they'll be absolutely fine there. So yeah. Okay, well I think that's all I want to do to this area. It's looking nice and open again now, and you can see it's a pond. Now, I know it's a shame taking all those white flowers out, but this pond here, there's actually so much more going on, because just going quickly through some of the plants, obviously I don't know the name of it, but we had this one here. We've got a water mint there, we've got a yellow flag iris there, we've got golden grass down here, we've got this thing here with the yellow flowers, which I can't remember, we've got a wonderful hosta here, we've got reed here, we've also got this plant here with the wonderful yellow flowers, we've got the meadowsweet here which has a white fluffy flower, we've got this plant here which has a pink fluffy flower, and then we've got the ferns at the end here. So there is a big variety of plants going all the way along there, and the dropwort was just swamped all those out. So now they can do their thing, they can flower, they can be the interest rather than the dropwort. But yeah, let's talk about that section. Okay, so this area here was, well, previously we had it as a capybara enclosure. Unfortunately the capybara went about 3 years ago, so since then we're not entirely sure what to do with the area. It is quite boggy, so we can't take the fences down and allow people to walk across it, because they'll be sinking up to their knees. So the thought was to have it as a wildflower meadow. Unfortunately we never planted anything. Everything that's here is self-seeded. So it's a true wildflower meadow. Problem is, some of the plants are really quite thuggish. But this section down here, to be honest, there's not a lot going on. You've got the dropwort, you've got the buttercups. Both of those are very tough plants, and they've kind of outcompeted everything else around it. So there's a few grasses in there that are doing fine. So my thought is, while it's looking nice, I'm just going to leave this for now. If I try and get the dropwort before it goes to seed, but after it's finished flowering, then I can take it out. That will prevent it from spreading, and then hopefully other plants will come up. But for now, I'm just going to leave that section. And this section here is pretty much the same. So this was a filtration bed. So it had this plant here, which is a Glyceria aquatic grass, planted in it. And I've cleared this so many times, and it just grows back in. In fact, I'll put a link. I think at some point in the spring I might have cleared this, but it's just grown back over. So as the dropwort seems to be doing quite well at competing with that, I'm just going to leave them do it here. I trim around the edge so it shouldn't spread out from this area. Now there is one tall one over there that I'm thinking I might take out just to open the view up, but everything else in here can stay. So we're really looking at that section round there. Okay, well this section is closer to what I wanted, but it's still struggling. So you've got things turning up. So you've got the campion here with the pink flower. You've got the other plant here which has a pink fluffy flower. There was some meadow sweet along here, but I can't see it offhand. And then there's this side here. You've got the buttercups. You've got the cranesbill geraniums, which are the other pink flowers. There's various grasses in here, and there's plantain in here. So there's quite a few shorter plants in this section. So this is good. This is what I wanted. Problem is you have got taller plants taking over, which is the dock and the dropwort. So yeah, I'm going to try take the dock and the dropwort out and not do too much damage to the other plants. Yeah, let's see how we do. Right, well that's looking better. I'm trying my best not to trample everything. I don't want it really looking like a fat man's been running through it, although a fat man's been running through it. So yeah, the way I'm trying to do it is literally lift my feet up and over and move to another spot, so you'll have a hole, rather than just trampling my way through and creating a path. So give it a couple of weeks, this should perk up anyway. But one of the plants I said about in here is plantain. Now there is this type of plantain, which is what you get on the land, has oval leaves and I'd say quite a boring flower to it. If I climb in there, I'll show you water plantain. Okay, so this is a water plantain down here. So you've got big oval leaves, so similar shaped leaf to the one that's on the land, but the flowers are completely different. Now unfortunately I damaged this flower spike, but you can see, break out like that, you've got the tiny little white flowers on there. And although it looks really delicate, I know I've snapped this one, but they're usually quite robust. So I don't know if this one's a little weaker because it was being swamped out and didn't have as much light, or if it's because it's earlier in the year. But there's multiple flower stems on there, so that will continue to flower. There's a good 5 or 6 flower stems on there, so that will look great later in the year. But yeah, so I'm going to carry on with this section here. So I know it looks a bit battered, but this is better for the plants that are left. So obviously you've got the thing with the pink flowers on there, you've got the yellow flag iris, you've got the ferns, you've got water mint in here, cranesbill geranium, campion. But if we come down here, just behind this reed, we have got marsh marigold, which is this big oval leaf here, and that would have been yellow buttercup flowers on there earlier in the year. And also we have got back here, I believe this plant here with the white flowers is woodruff, which should spread through there. So yeah, plenty going on in there. So yeah, I'm going to empty these wellies out, get out the water and take a look at the riverside now, I think. Okay, so I'm down in the river and it's basically same again, removing the dropwort from the bank, but I'm doing it for a slightly different reason. Over there it's because I wanted the wildflowers. Down here it's just because I want growth of some description. Now, they didn't really think this through when they planned the place, and they put a path up there on a high bank above the river. Now this is on the outside of a bend here, so this is the section that gets washed away, and that undermines our path, so that's really not good. Now things like grasses and that will help stabilise the bank, so there are a few grasses in here. They're not doing great because they haven't got the light, so things I can do to help are trim the branches back overhead and take the dropwort out. So yeah, now I'm not sure, part of me says cut the dropwort because then you're not disturbing the bank, but then you're leaving the roots in and it can grow back. If you pull the dropwort, then you're taking the roots out, but then you're disturbing the bank. So I'll give it a try with both methods, see which one I prefer. Well, I'll give it a try pulling it first, but yeah, so let's clear this and open it up so we can get more growing along here. Okay, so earlier I pointed out something that I said I thought was woodruff, and it looked like that. Now, I'm now not convinced that that is woodruff. This, on the other hand, is woodruff. So it's still got exactly the same sort of star shape to the leaf, breaking out along the stems. But the main difference with this is when you rub your hand underneath it, it's smooth on the underside of the leaves. These ones here are sticky. And I know that is sticky woody. I believe somebody referred to it the other day as goosegrass. That's one that people throw at you and sticks to you, and it has little seeds that stick and spreads everywhere. It's not too much of a problem being in here. It sort of flops over everything. If you get too much of it, it can sort of swamp plants out, but it's easy enough just to rake off because it snaps easily. So yeah, so it's a little bit disappointing. I don't think that was the woodruff, but we got woodruff here, and that will spread across the bank here quite happily. So right, let's get that last little bit on the corner, and then I think I'll call it a day. Right, and I think that's it for this video, because yeah, I'm not feeling up to doing much more. But I'm pleased with what I have done, and I hope this video shows like how much effort actually goes into keeping this place under control. We do want the wild look. The owner certainly wants a wild look. So it is very hard to not over control, but at the same time, if you just leave it to do its own thing, you'll just end up with brambles and willow trees everywhere. So there's a lot of effort goes into trying to keep it like this. But yeah, so this pond here, like, compared to this morning, you can actually see it's a pond now. You can see the water that's in there. You can see all the different plants that are around the edge. So give it a couple of weeks, the flowers will be out on those, and they'll look fantastic. So it's nice having that back open. And then as we go back down through here, I haven't done anything either side here. But obviously I cleared a lot on that bank over there. So as you walk along the bridge now, you can see the buttercups, you can see different flowers over there. You can also see the fact that the path goes round, so you can see that you want to carry on round there. So as you walk round there, you can now see down, and you can see into the river, see that the river flows and the way it meanders around the edge here, which is nice. But yeah, so with this open like this now, it should allow more seeds in, more light down to the ground, so we can then see what other flowers, what other things take hold and grow in here. It's just a case of keeping on top of the thuggish plants, keeping them down, and then letting nature do the rest of it. So but yeah, obviously there's still a lot to do along here. There are quite a few nettles and things that still need pulling, so this isn't going to be it for the rest of the year. I will be visiting it again later in the year. But yeah, so that's it for today. So end this video here. I shall see you later.